The voice in your head is a drug. This is a description, the same way you would describe a chemical entering a bloodstream. Whatever you say to yourself, all day, in the low background hum of inner narration, is a chemistry your deeper mind absorbs the way the body absorbs caffeine. The dose runs continuous. The delivery system runs while you wake, while you work, while you walk, while you wait in line, while you sit in the car, while you stare at the ceiling at 3 in the morning. The voice keeps speaking. The dose keeps arriving. The chemistry compounds across decades. The pharmacy was set up before you arrived. You inherited most of the prescriptions. You have been on the medication since before you were old enough to ask what it was. The current dose is what is producing the current results. This is the most powerful drug the architecture takes. The architecture takes it from the moment the eyes open in the morning until the moment the body falls asleep at night. The architecture continues taking smaller doses through the dreaming hours. The architecture accepts the first fresh dose of the new day, before the conscious mind has come online, before the feet have touched the floor, before the operator has remembered who they are. We are going to walk through what the chemistry actually does. 6 analogies. 1 phenomenon. By the time we are done, you will know exactly what has been entering your bloodstream every minute of every day for as long as you have been alive. The first analogy is the drug itself. A drug works on the architecture in 3 steps. It enters the bloodstream. It crosses the barrier to the deeper system. It produces a chemical change that the body reads as the new baseline. A small dose produces a small change. A continuous dose produces a permanent change. Once the body has calibrated to the dose, removing the dose produces withdrawal. The architecture builds itself around what it has been receiving. Self-talk works on the deeper mind in the same 3 steps. The voice produces the sentence. The sentence crosses the bridge from the conscious mind to the deeper mind. The deeper mind reads the sentence as instruction and begins to produce a state that matches the instruction. A single sentence produces a small response. Sentences repeated daily for years produce a permanent state. Once the deeper mind has calibrated to the sentences, removing the sentences produces something like withdrawal. The operator does not know what to think about. They reach for the familiar sentences without realizing the sentences have been the dose. Picture an operator sitting in a chair at the kitchen table at 7 in the morning. The coffee is in front of them. The phone is in their hand. The day has not started yet. The voice in their head is already running. The voice is saying the same things it said the morning before. The voice is rehearsing the same complaints about the same situations the operator has been complaining about for years. The chemistry is already entering the bloodstream of the deeper mind. The operator has not taken a sip of coffee yet, and the day is already being dosed. By the time the operator leaves the house at 8:30, the deeper mind has received 40 minutes of one specific chemistry. That chemistry sets the tone of the next hour at work. The hour at work produces more sentences in the same chemistry. The sentences dose the deeper mind further. By noon, the operator is running from a deeper layer that has been bathed in one specific signal for 5 continuous hours. The signal becomes the operator's mood. The mood becomes the operator's posture. The posture becomes the operator's interactions. The interactions become the day. The day, observed at the end of the evening, looks like proof of what the voice was saying that morning. The voice gets the confirmation. The voice runs again tomorrow on the same script, with new confidence. This is the dose. It runs every day. It runs whether the operator notices it or not. The voice is a pharmacy. The voice operates on automatic refill. The voice keeps producing the prescription that was filled long ago by people who are no longer in the room, for reasons the operator never examined. The application window for the drug analogy runs through every quiet moment of every ordinary day. Take the case of someone who walks from the parking lot to the office building, and the voice runs a script about how the day is going to be hard. By the time they reach the front door, they are dosed for hardness. The face they bring through the door carries the dose. The first colleague who sees them registers the dose without thinking about it. The first conversation of the day proceeds inside the dose's effect. Take the case of someone who sits in a chair at the dentist, and the voice runs a script about how things never go well for them at the dentist. By the time the dentist arrives, the body is in the chemistry of bad outcomes. The jaw is tight. The hands grip the chair. The mouth produces saliva in the wrong rhythm. The dentist works inside that chemistry. The chemistry shapes the visit. Take the case of someone who lies in bed at 11 at night, and the voice runs the day's small failures. One more time. The voice plays back the moment in the meeting when they could have spoken up. The voice plays back the comment they meant to make to their child. The voice plays back the email that should have been sent earlier. By the time the operator falls asleep, the deeper mind goes into the night, carrying that chemistry into the dreaming hours. The dreams take on the chemistry. The morning carries it forward. Take the case of someone who wakes at 3 in the morning and the voice begins immediately with the worst-case scenario for the morning meeting. The voice rehearses the way the boss might react. The voice rehearses the questions the operator will fail to answer. The voice rehearses the small humiliation that has not happened yet and may never happen. By the time the alarm rings, the body has been bathed in threat chemistry for 3 hours. The operator is exhausted before the day has begun. The dose was not the events. The dose was what the voice said about the events. The events came and went. The voice kept speaking. The chemistry kept arriving. The deeper mind kept absorbing what arrived. You with me? If this is hitting you right now, drop a like. It helps get this in front of the right people. The second analogy is the IV drip. There is a difference between a single dose and a continuous drip. A single dose hits the system, produces an effect, and clears. A continuous drip hits the system at a low concentration that the body never has time to clear. The drip becomes the more powerful delivery system because the body cannot return to a baseline state. The drip becomes the baseline. Self-talk operates as the drip rather than the single dose. A single sentence said once in anger does very little to the deeper mind. The deeper mind receives the sentence, registers the spike, and returns to its baseline within minutes. A single sentence said softly to oneself 800 times across a year, in moments of small frustration, in the shower, in the car, in the spaces between tasks, becomes the baseline. The deeper mind never returns to neutral because the drip never stops. This is what the lineage was naming when it said that what you dwell on is what you become. The dwelling is the drip. The intensity of any single moment matters less than the continuity of the low-level signal. Someone who has one extraordinarily positive day per week, surrounded by 6 days of low-grade complaint, is on the complaint drip. The one positive day cannot reset the baseline. The drip wins. Someone who has one extraordinarily negative event per year, surrounded by daily quiet acceptance, is on the acceptance drip. The one negative event registers as a spike that fades. The drip continues. The drip determines who the operator becomes over a decade. Picture a small IV stand next to a hospital bed. The bag hangs from the stand. The line runs from the bag down to the arm. The drug enters the bloodstream, 1 drop at a time. The patient does not feel the individual drops. The patient feels the cumulative effect. By the end of an hour, the body chemistry has shifted. By the end of a day, the shift has become total. By the end of a week, the body has built itself around the drug. Stop the drip, and the body has to relearn how to operate without what it has been receiving. Self-talk is the bag. The voice is the line. The deeper mind is the bloodstream. The current state of your inner life is the cumulative effect of every drop that has entered the bloodstream over years. The cumulative effect compounds at a rate the operator cannot perceive in real time because the drops are too small to register individually, and the body's chemistry is being shaped by the cumulative load rather than by any single drop. This explains why people who try to change their life through occasional bursts of motivation rarely produce sustained change. The bursts are single doses. The single doses cannot overcome the drip. The drip has been running for 30 or 40 years. The drip carries the inner script, the paradigm, the set point, the broadcast frequency, the filter, and the body's chemistry. A motivational seminar provides one large dose on a Saturday. By Tuesday, the drip has reasserted itself. By Friday, the seminar has begun to fade. By the next Saturday, the operator is back to the baseline the drip established. The only thing that competes with a drip is another drip. The only thing that changes the chemistry of years is a new chemistry delivered with the same continuity. Hill prescribed twice daily reading of the chief aim statement in Chapter 4 of Think and Grow Rich, published in 1937, for exactly this reason. Twice a day is the beginning of a new drip. A new bag hung next to the old one. The new bag releases its drops, while the old bag releases its drops. Over months, the new bag empties faster than the old bag because the operator has begun moving the line. Over a year, the old bag is mostly drained. Over 2 years, the old bag has been removed. The new chemistry is the baseline. The application window for the drip is the part most operators miss. Take the case of someone who watches a positive video in the morning and feels great for an hour, then spends the next 6 hours speaking sharply to themselves about every small mistake and reports that positive videos do nothing. The positive video was a single dose. The sharpness was the drip one. Take the case of someone who reads a book about wealth on a Sunday afternoon and feels inspired, then returns to a week of conversations with friends who reinforce scarcity and reports that the book did nothing. The book was a single dose. The conversations were the drip one. Take the case of someone who attends a seminar and writes down 20 insights, then drives home running the same internal monologue they have run for 10 years, and reports that the seminar produced nothing. The seminar was a single dose. The monologue was the drip one. Take the case of someone who has been told they are loved by their partner every morning for 15 years and reports that they have never doubted the love. The morning sentence was the drip. The drip produced the conviction. Take the case of someone whose parent told them they were stupid every week for the first 16 years of their life and reports that they have struggled to feel competent in their work for the 4 decades since. The weekly sentence was the drip. The drip produced the conviction. The conviction produced the behavior. The behavior confirmed the conviction. The cycle closed. The drip is always winning, in either direction. The question is, what is in the bag? That is the second analogy. The third is the voice in the empty room. There is a specific quality the voice in the head takes on when the room around the operator goes quiet. In conversation, the voice gets suppressed because the external sound is filling the air. In music, the voice gets partially masked. In work that requires full attention, the voice is held at a distance. The moment the external input stops, the moment the operator sits alone in a quiet room, the voice rises to its full volume. The empty room is where the operator finally hears what has actually been running underneath every other moment of the day. The voice in the empty room is the truest version of the chemistry. The voice in the empty room is what the deeper mind has been hearing all day, even when the conscious mind was busy with other things. The deeper mind has been ignoring your meetings. The deeper mind has been ignoring your music. The deeper mind has been ignoring the podcast you were running while you cooked dinner. The deeper mind has been listening to the voice. The voice has been there the whole time. The empty room is where the operator catches what they have been giving the deeper mind for 30 years. This is why sitting in silence has become one of the most difficult acts a modern operator can attempt. The silence reveals the drug. The drug, observed without distraction, becomes uncomfortable. The operator reaches for the phone, the music, the noise, the conversation, anything that masks the voice. The masking moves the saying to a layer where the conscious mind has stopped listening. The voice continues at the same volume the deeper mind has always heard. Picture an old house at the end of a long evening. The guests have left, the dishes have been washed, the television has been turned off. The kitchen is dark. The operator sits at the table and notices, for the first time in months, what the voice has been saying. The voice is rehearsing a small humiliation from work that happened in October. The voice is calculating a financial worry that has been worried about every day for 2 years. The voice is speaking sharply to a self that has done nothing wrong this evening. The voice is running through a list of things that are wrong with the operator's body. The voice is doing this without the operator's permission. The voice has been doing this all day. The empty room is where the operator heard it. The lineage taught the empty room without using modern language for it. Hill called it autosuggestion by neglect. The mind, left untended, produces the chemistry it has been habituated to producing. Nightingale called it the law of the harvest. The mind grows what has been planted, and the planting happens whether the operator pays attention to the planting or not. Proctor taught it through the metaphor of the radio. The radio plays whatever station the dial is set to, and the dial has been set since long before the operator was old enough to touch it. The application window for the empty room voice is the part that catches operators by surprise when they slow down. Take the case of someone who goes on vacation expecting to relax, finds themselves alone on a beach for 2 hours, and reports that the vacation made them anxious. The beach removed the noise that had been masking the voice. The voice was always anxious. The vacation revealed the chemistry the operator had been on for years. Take the case of someone who retires and finds the first 6 months unexpectedly difficult. The work was masking what the voice had been saying. The retirement removed the masking. The voice arrived at full volume. The operator who thought they had been happy in their career finds themselves struggling with feelings they cannot place. The feelings were always there. The work had been louder. Take the case of someone who ends a long relationship and finds the first quiet weekend overwhelming. The relationship was masking the voice. The quiet weekend revealed what they had been carrying the whole time. The operator concludes the breakup made them unhappy. The breakup made the inner chemistry audible. The unhappiness was the chemistry. The chemistry was the drip. Take the case of someone who learns to meditate and reports that the practice made things worse for the first 3 months. The practice did not make things worse. The practice removed the layer that had been masking the voice. The operator heard the voice for the first time and concluded the practice had created what it had simply uncovered. Some operators stop the practice because the uncovering becomes intolerable. Some operators continue and slowly come to terms with what they have been carrying. Take the case of someone who is offered a stretch of unplanned time, an empty Saturday afternoon, and finds themselves reaching for the television within 20 minutes. The reaching is the masking. The empty afternoon would have brought the voice forward. The masking keeps the voice at a layer the conscious mind has stopped hearing. The masking does nothing to the deeper mind, which has been listening to the voice the whole time at the same volume. The empty room reveals the chemistry that has been running. The empty room does not create the chemistry. The chemistry was already there. Drop a comment and tell us which part of this you are going to sit with for a while. That is the third analogy. The fourth is water hammering a stone. A stone is hard. Water is soft. Water dripping on a stone produces no visible change in an afternoon. Water dripping on a stone for an hour produces no visible change. Water dripping on the same spot of the same stone for a year produces a small depression. Water dripping on the same spot for a decade produces a hole. Water dripping on the same spot for a century carves the stone in half. The deeper mind is the stone. Self-talk is the water. Any single sentence is one drop. The drop produces no visible change. The drop produces a real change too small to see. The drop is doing exactly what drops do. The drop is doing it on the same spot every day. The accumulation runs invisible until it has become undeniable. This is the part the operator never sees in real time. Every sentence the voice produces lands on a specific spot of the deeper mind. The spot is the script. The script gets reinforced by the drop. The drop runs again the next day on the same spot. By year 10 of one specific drip, the script has been carved into the stone so deeply that the operator has stopped noticing it. The script feels like the operator. The script has become indistinguishable from identity. This is why operators say things like, "That is just who I am." The script feels like identity because the stone has been carved into the shape of the script. The operator has forgotten that the stone began smooth. The operator has forgotten that the carving happened one drop at a time over decades. The operator has forgotten that the drops are still falling and that the carving continues every day. Picture two stones at the base of two adjacent waterfalls. The first stone has been receiving water from a small, consistent stream for 40 years. The second stone has been receiving water from a similar stream with a slightly different mineral content. After 40 years, the two stones look completely different. They began identical. The water made the difference. The water made the difference one drop at a time, over 4 decades. While no one was paying attention, two operators sit across from each other in their early 60s. One has been running a self-talk script of, "Things tend to work out for me," for 40 years. The other has been running a self-talk script of, "Things tend to go wrong for me," for 40 years. The two were born the same year. They had similar starts. The drops fell at the same rate. The mineral content differed. The stones have been carved into different shapes. The carving shows in the face. The carving shows in the posture. The carving shows in the life the operator now occupies. The carving was invisible at year 3. The carving was undeniable by year 30. The carving is permanent unless new water begins to fall on a new spot. Hill watched this in over 500 lives across the 20 years of his commission from Andrew Carnegie, which began in 1908. Same stones, different water, different shapes. He saw the water work on the stone the same way every time. He prescribed deliberate water in Chapter 4 of the book he published in 1937. Read the statement aloud morning and night with feeling. Replace the existing drip with a new drip. Carve a new shape into the same stone. The stone receives whatever water hits it. The choice is which water you arrange to fall. Nightingale watched it from a different angle. He distilled the principle into a recording in 1956 that became the first spoken word record to receive a gold record. The recording sold over 1 million copies. The line he kept returning to was 6 words: "We become what we think about." The thinking is the dripping. The becoming is the carving. The recording sold because the listeners recognized the carving they had been doing to themselves without knowing they were doing it. The application window for water on stone is the part operators resist most. Take the case of someone who has been saying, "I am bad with money" since childhood. They say it as a joke. They say it as an explanation for choices. They say it 3 or 4 times a week for 30 years. By year 30, the stone has been carved. They are bad with money. They cannot point to a single drop that did the carving. The carving was done by all of them together. The drop that fell yesterday continues the carving today. The drop that falls tomorrow will continue it again. Take the case of someone who has been saying, "I always end up with the wrong people" for 20 years. They say it as observation. They say it as commentary on the latest difficult relationship. They say it as a kind of weary humor at dinner with friends. By year 20, the stone has been carved. They keep ending up with the wrong people. The voice did the work. The voice continues to do the work. The drops are still falling on the same spot. Take the case of someone who has been saying, "I have terrible luck with my body" for 25 years. The phrase has come out at every annual checkup. The phrase has come out at every minor injury. The phrase has come out every time a friend mentioned a health issue. By year 25, the stone is the shape of the phrase. The body has heard the voice as instruction. The body has organized itself around the instruction. The luck has become consistent because the operator instructed the deeper mind to produce the consistency. The luck was the script. The script was the water. The water was the voice. The good news in the same analogy is that the stone does not care which water falls on it. Change the water. The shape will change, slowly at first, visibly within months, permanently within years. The stone is patient. The water decides everything. The operator decides the water. Stay with me. The 5th analogy is the radio station broadcasting from inside the head. Every operator carries a small radio station inside their head. The station has been broadcasting since childhood. The station broadcasts whatever programming has been loaded into it. The conscious mind is one of the listeners. The deeper mind is the constant listener. The body is the listener that translates the broadcast into action. The conscious mind sometimes tunes the station out. The deeper mind never tunes out. The deeper mind hears every word, every tone, every implication of every sentence the station broadcasts. All day, every day, for the operator's entire life. The deeper mind treats the broadcast as the only reliable source of information about who the operator is. The deeper mind has no other source. There exists only one station. What the station broadcasts becomes the operator. The mechanics here run simple. The station said, "I am the kind of person who never finishes things," for 20 years, and the deeper mind organized the operator around the broadcast, and the body executed the organization. And now the operator does not finish things, and the operator points to the not finishing as evidence the station was correct all along. The station in nearly every operator was set by someone other than the operator. The programming was loaded by a parent, a teacher, a sibling, a community, an early event that produced a script the small child accepted because the small child had no filter. The station took the programming as truth. The station began broadcasting it. The broadcast has continued in some cases for 50 or 60 years. The operator has come to identify with the broadcast. The operator believes the broadcast describes them. The broadcast creates them every day, one sentence at a time. The describing was always producing. Proctor taught the radio analogy for 60 years on stage. He used it because it lands. The dial was set by someone else. The station has been playing whatever was loaded. The operator has the capacity to change the station. The capacity has been there the whole time. Operators rarely reach the dial because operators rarely notice the dial exists. Subscribe if you want more of this. We teach from Carnegie, Hill, Nightingale, Proctor, and the full lineage, and we go this deep every single time. Picture the radio in the corner of a small house. The house has been the operator's home for as long as memory holds. The radio plays softly from the moment the operator wakes until the moment the operator falls asleep. The operator has stopped hearing the radio consciously because the radio has been on so long it has become the sound of the house. The radio is still playing. The body still hears it. The deeper mind still hears it. The chemistry of the house is the chemistry of the broadcast. The broadcast says what it has always said. The house responds. A guest visits the house. The guest hears the radio immediately because the guest is fresh to the room. The guest says, "What is this station playing?" The operator says, "What station?" The operator has forgotten the radio is on. The guest hears the broadcast clearly. The broadcast is saying something the guest finds unkind. The broadcast is saying it about the operator. The guest looks at the operator and sees the broadcast in the operator's face, in the operator's posture, in the operator's way of speaking. The broadcast is producing the operator. The operator does not hear the broadcast. The operator only feels its effects and attributes the effects to circumstance, to other people, to the situation, to the world. This is why people who love an operator can see the operator's self-talk before the operator can see it. The broadcast is audible to anyone in the room except the one person who has been listening the longest. The longest listener has tuned out the conscious frequency of the broadcast. The deeper mind has not tuned out. The deeper mind is the station's only continuous audience. The application window for the radio is observable in every operator who hears their own broadcast for the first time. Take the case of someone whose therapist names a sentence they have been saying to themselves for 30 years, and the operator stops for a moment and says, "I didn't know I said that." The operator has been saying it constantly. The operator stopped hearing it long ago. The naming makes the broadcast audible again. From that moment forward, the operator hears the station every time it plays. The hearing is the first step toward reaching the dial. Take the case of someone whose friend points out that they have called themselves stupid 4 times in a single afternoon. The operator says, "Really? I didn't notice the operator has not been noticing for years. The friend can hear it. The deeper mind can hear it. The conscious mind has stopped paying attention. Hearing the broadcast is harder than changing it. Many operators never reach the hearing. Take the case of someone who records their own voice during a normal conversation and listens to the recording later and hears something in their tone they did not know was there. The tone has been there for years. The recording made it audible. The hearing is the start of being able to do anything about it. Without the hearing, the broadcast continues unexamined. The operator continues unexamined. The life continues unexamined. Take the case of an operator who reads a transcript of their own thoughts written down on paper. They keep a journal for a month and write down what the voice has been saying. At the end of the month, they read the pages. They are shocked. The voice has been saying things they would not say to a stranger. The voice has been saying things they would not allow another person to say in their presence. The voice has been saying these things to them daily, for as long as they can remember, and the operator has been the audience all along. Okay, that is the radio. The sixth analogy is the seed in soil that has been there since childhood. The soil of the deeper mind was prepared long before the operator was old enough to choose what to plant in it. The soil was conditioned by what the family planted, what the school planted, what the early relationships planted. By age 7, the soil had taken its character. The character of the soil determines what can grow in it. Self-talk is the new seed being thrown into the existing soil every day. The seed lands on the conditioned ground. The seed either matches the soil's existing character and grows easily, or conflicts with the soil's character and struggles. Most self-talk an operator produces matches the soil the operator already has. This is why the self-talk feels natural. The seed is being thrown into soil that was prepared for it. A child raised in a household where money was a constant source of stress grows into an adult whose soil is conditioned for scarcity. The voice produces sentences about scarcity all day long. The sentences match the soil. The sentences grow easily. The harvest is more scarcity. The operator says this is just how things are. The operator is correct in their observation and incomplete in their analysis. Things are this way because the soil and the seed have been matched for 40 years. A child raised in a household where every problem was met with a calm, "we will figure this out," grows into an adult whose soil is conditioned for solutions. The voice produces sentences about figuring things out. The sentences match the soil. The sentences grow easily. The harvest is consistent problem solving. The operator says, "I have always been good at handling things." The operator is correct in the result and incomplete in the cause. The handling came from the soil. The soil came from the household. The household was the planting that no one named at the time. The lineage understood this. Hill watched it across his 500 subjects. The wealthy ones had often, somewhere in their early life, encountered soil-changing events. A book read at the right age. A mentor met at the right moment. A loss that broke the family's old script and forced a new one. The soil-changing events were rare. Most operators arrive at adulthood with soil that was prepared for the harvest the operator now resents. The good news is that soil can be amended, slowly, through deliberate input. New seed, different chemistry, repeated over years. Hill prescribed this in the 6 steps in Chapter 2 of Think and Grow Rich. Specific instruction, repeated daily with emotion. The new instruction does not match the existing soil. The new instruction conflicts with it. The conflict produces resistance at first. The resistance is the soil trying to maintain its character. Over months, if the new instruction is repeated faithfully, the soil begins to take on the character of the new seed. New chemistry enters the ground. The harvest, in time, changes. Picture a small garden plot that has grown one specific crop for 40 years. The soil is conditioned for that crop. The crop comes up every year without effort. The operator decides to grow a different crop. The first year, the new crop struggles. The soil is not ready. By the second year, the new crop grows a little better. By the third year, the soil has begun to take on the character of the new crop. By the 5th year, the new crop comes up easily and the old crop, if any seeds remain, struggles. The soil has shifted. The water has done its work. The new chemistry has entered the ground. This is the mechanism Proctor lived. Before he found Think and Grow Rich, his soil was conditioned for $4,000 a year as a fireman. He read passages from the book daily for years. He fed new seeds into the old soil every day. The soil resisted at first. He kept feeding. Over time, the soil shifted. By the year he earned $175,000, the soil had been substantially amended. By the year he earned over $1 million, the soil was the soil of someone who earned that. The soil followed the seed. The seed followed the daily input. The daily input was the voice in his head, deliberately directed, twice a day, for years, until the new chemistry was the chemistry of the ground. The application window for the soil is the part operators find hardest to accept. Take the case of someone who has been planting scarcity seeds in scarcity soil for 30 years and reports that they have been working hard at their goals. They have been working hard at the wrong layer. The execution layer cannot change the soil. The soil changes only through what the voice tells the deeper mind every day. The execution will produce results inside the soil's existing character. Take the case of someone who has been planting struggle seeds in struggle soil for 20 years and reports that they always seem to attract difficult situations. The attraction is the harvest. The harvest came from the planting. The planting was the voice. The voice is still planting. The harvest will continue as long as the planting continues. Take the case of someone who has been planting unworthiness seeds in unworthiness soil for 35 years and reports that they have a hard time accepting compliments. The hard time is the harvest. The compliment does not match the soil. The soil rejects the compliment because the soil has been growing the opposite for 35 years. The compliment falls on the soil and finds nothing to take root in. The soil produces a deflection. The deflection is the operator's voice rejecting the compliment in real time, before the conscious mind has thought about it, because the soil already knew what to do. Take the case of someone who has been planting "I am the kind of person who follows through" seeds in matching soil for 15 years. The follow-through is the harvest. The follow-through has become automatic. The operator says, "I have always been disciplined." The discipline came from the planting. The planting came from the voice was making the soil what the soil now is. The soil is now producing what the soil was conditioned to produce. So we have the drug, the IV drip, the voice in the empty room, the water hammering the stone, the radio broadcasting from inside the head, and the seed in the soil. 6 angles on the same chemistry. 6 ways of looking at the same continuous fact. Self-talk is the most powerful drug the architecture takes, because the architecture takes it continuously, from a source that runs without closing, in doses too small to register, on substrate that has been receiving the drug since before the operator was old enough to consent. The lineage figured this out long before there was any modern way to measure it. Hill spent 20 years on the commission Andrew Carnegie gave him in 1908. He interviewed over 500 of the wealthiest people in America. He noticed that the wealthy had a different inner voice than the failed. He wrote the prescription in Chapter 4 of Think and Grow Rich. Read your definite chief aim aloud twice daily, with feeling, until the words are committed to memory and the deeper mind has accepted them as instruction. He was prescribing a deliberate replacement drip. He was prescribing the operator take control of the prescription. He was prescribing the operator reach for the dial that had been set by someone else. Nightingale distilled the same teaching 20 years later into a recording in 1956. The recording became the first spoken word record to receive a gold record. He sold over 1 million copies. The line at the heart of the recording was 6 words: "We become what we think about." He was naming the drug. He was naming the carving. He was naming the broadcast. He was naming the soil. He was naming what the lineage had been pointing at for 2 decades, in 6 words, and the listeners recognized it because every listener had been on the drug their whole life and had never heard the drug named. Proctor took the same architecture and taught it for 60 years on stage. He demonstrated it in his own life. He arranged a new drip. He carved the stone in a new shape. He changed the station. He amended the soil. The architecture produced the result the architecture had been instructed to produce. He went from 4,000 a year to over 1 million in a single year, and then taught what he had done for the next 6 decades. What he taught was the same thing Hill had documented, and Nightingale had distilled. The voice is the medication. The operator can change the prescription. This is what we do here. The mechanics work by law. The dose runs continuous. The drug is the voice. The drug remains the most powerful drug the architecture takes, because the architecture takes it without permission, in doses small enough to escape attention, on substrate too soft to resist, for durations long enough to make the operator believe the chemistry is identity. The architecture has been waiting for the operator to notice. Picture a small kitchen at first light. The operator sits at the table with a cup that has yet to be raised to the lips. The house is quiet. The radio in the corner is playing softly. The ivy is dripping. The water is falling on the stone. The seed is being scattered onto the soil. The voice is producing the first sentences of the day. The operator notices for the first time in a long time what the voice has been saying. The voice is saying what it always says. The operator hears it now. The hearing is the change. The drug has been named. The pharmacy was always reachable. The dial was always reachable. The radio was always reachable. The water always responded to where the operator pointed the drip. The soil always accepted whatever was planted in it. The drug remains the most powerful drug the architecture takes, because the architecture takes it every day, all day, from a source the operator runs and has always run, on a body the operator inhabits and has always inhabited, into a deeper mind that has been listening since before memory began. The drug has a name, the voice has a function, the chemistry has a source. The kitchen is still quiet. The cup is still warm. The morning has barely started. The voice is producing the first sentence of the day, and the operator, sitting in the empty room, hearing what has been playing the whole time, has the dial in their hand for the first time in years. What plays next in the small house at the edge of a field is the operator's decision. The deeper mind is listening. The deeper mind has been listening longer than anyone in the room knows. The voice is a drug. The voice has always been a drug. The voice has finally been heard.